Oh, thank you.
Hey everyone, before we get this episode started, also, I wanted to sound like a YouTuber, that's why I started off with, hey everyone, like, subscribe below. You know how YouTubers are. Okay, but before we get started, I want y'all to know we are going extra big with the All-Star season of Vulnerability Time podcast. So, guess what? We got video podcast. So, click in the episode description below if you wish to watch the video of the podcast as well. It'll be a YouTube link, so you can go ahead and get it going and get watching it. Make sure to follow, like, subscribe below. Such a YouTuber, right? Anyways, folks, enjoy the episode.
Recording.
Just do it. All right.
And just like, here we are. Okay, so two things. Welcome back everybody to another episode of Vulnerability Time All-Star Season. I am your host, Josias April. We love a good legal name change. With us, we have someone returning from season 1, All-Star Rowan. Rowan!
Hello. Thank you for
Fun
having me back.
fact. We were been supposed to record episodes, folks, for like season 3, but like Rowan and I both like changed times. Like I'm just like, oh hey, let's reschedule. Yeah, I do that all the time. I do.
Well, it's because we live so far apart. Like if we lived close together and the time zones weren't so skewed, I think we'd be fine. But
yeah,
you know, living the other side of not the other side of the world, but a few thousand miles away, it makes a difference.
just a few thousand. Yeah, we're a
just
6
a few.
hour. Just a few. We're a 6 hour difference, folks. He's in the UK. I am in America. Woo!
Woo!
Okay, so 2 things. I know you gotta update us on something, but first, I just gotta get this out of the way. Did you see the Loki season 2 trailer?
Yeah, it does look pretty good. To be fair, I'm excited for that. Yeah.
It looks really good. Honestly, between me and you, it looks better than the first season.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. I loved the first season up until the last few episodes. Or the last episode, I think it was. I didn't really like how they did the last episode, but I mean, this season might be a redemption arc for Loki because I loved it up until that point.
Mm-hmm. You know, I liked the ending of Loki season 1. Oh, folks, by the way, our topic today will be I care about what people think. That's what we'll be talking about. But yeah, I forgot to say that in the beginning, Rowan, sorry. Okay, yeah, I liked it because it really showed like the TVA. It pretty much like Kang is going to conquer regardless. That's what I like that it showed, because it had his statues at the end in the TVA, and I was like, this guy is ruthless. Like, we think Thanos was bad. At least Thanos had empathy. Kang is the actual, like hardcore variant of Kang. Kang the Conqueror. Whoa, those guys are ruthless.
Yeah, it's going to be quite a turnout in this next season. This next series of Marvel films as well, just to see how much damage he does. I'm excited to see where they take it. I know at the minute though, the MCU feels a bit like all over the place and don't really have one.
And that's the thing, it's supposed to, because, you know, during the big get-together in the Avengers movie, you know, there are so many variants of Kang. They're gonna have street-level fighter Kangs. They're gonna have galactic-level fighters. So it's like, it's supposed to be sporadic as of right now, but I just feel like they're not putting the movie, I don't know, it just seems like there's too much time between them putting out the movies to where it just seems confusing. But like, if they put movies out quicker, I feel like it would help people, you know, better grasp the goal of the confusion, because it's supposed to be confusing. I don't know if that makes sense. Did that make sense?
It did make sense, yeah. I think it does make sense.
Yeah.
Maybe you're right. Maybe you are right. I hope you are right. To me, I just read it as they don't really have a cohesive story that they're going for in the studio, so everyone's just winging it. But maybe you're right. Maybe it is that they want us to be really confused, and then we'll have this massive story that makes sense in the end.
Yeah.
Which will be great. Guardians 3 was amazing as well. I absolutely
It was so
loved Guardians
good.
3.
Okay, it was like
Yeah.
it was really good. It had some sad moments for me, but like which is also really good. I just wasn't expecting, like when you see Guardians 1, you're not really expecting any like heart-tugging moments, because they're so like silly and just, it's Guardians, they're funny, and then things got, a little bit emotional in the third one. So I was like, oh, I love a good story development.
Yeah. Who knew you could be so emotionally invested in a raccoon?
I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
Yes, he finally comes to terms with his raccoonness. Yeah, I'm excited for Loki Season 2. Oh yeah, this is another thing I had to mention. So I was a big fan of Miss Minutes in Loki Season 1.
Yeah, okay. Is that that's the like hologram that follows them around?
Yes, I'm Miss Minutes of the Time Variance Authority. I love her. And she apparently in the trailer, she just becomes something completely different. And I'm loving that. I love that.
Yeah. She's supposed to represent like she like the evil overlord genius behind everything, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, she's a bandit.
Guess we'll find out, won't we, Rowan?
Yeah.
So update us. So I know that you have like a new podcast, right?
Yeah, it's not new. It's actually a year old as of next week, I think.
Well, it's new to us because it's been a year since we've seen you. A year and a half since we've seen you.
Yeah. So it's called a cult pod. So basically, we just go into research about conspiracy theory, conspiracy law, astrology, numerology, all that good stuff. And we talk about different topics every single week. And we get guests on sometimes, and sometimes we don't. Sometimes we just riff off between us. So that's me and a gentleman called Ngombe, who's my podcast partner. He's the co-host, and it's a lot of fun. And I'm having a great time releasing these podcasts because I think it's quite it's an exciting part of your week where you've got to sit down, you've got to think about what topic to speak about, and then you've got to spend a few hours researching it, and then you've got to record an hour-long video. And most of the time, it's not as extensively. It's kind of like this podcast in a way, where it's quite off the riff, quite off the cuff. So usually we don't have a script or like we don't have minutes or anything to go about.
Yeah, off the riff.
Just wing it most of the time.
That's the best ones.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. A lot of the time you catch lightning in a bottle sometimes, and you have these moments of revelation where it's like, oh my god, I didn't even think of that, and two things come together, and you're like, wow, that's an amazing revelation that I wouldn't have thought of had I made it a lot more strict with how I was presenting the podcast. So yeah, it's just a great release as well. My friends recently found out about it, which I kind of did get upset about. This sort of ties into the theme of this episode, because I did get upset about it, I wouldn't necessarily say, but I'm always hesitant to tell my friends about stuff that I'm doing like outside of real life. Obviously they know I'm an actor and things like that, but when I'm doing like a podcast, they already know I'm a bit like conspiracy-y, like I'm not, I don't think conventionally. I don't think like a lot of
that is beautiful. That is beautiful. I think more people need to not think conventionally. No, seriously, that's a beautiful thing. That's a really beautiful thing.
Yeah, 100%. But at the same time, you can catch a lot of flack for it, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people kind of look down at you and they look at you lesser. Because I think they think you're weird, and you're like, what? Why are you not fitting into society the same way that everyone else is? And I think to some extent you just have to be like, well, you know what, fuck it, I might as well. Sorry for swearing. Am I allowed to swear on this podcast?
It's vulnerability time. We can cuss. We can say whatever the fuck we want to. No filter.
Wasn't sure. This isn't the BBC. This isn't CNN. You don't have to censor yourself. But yeah, I think I'm always kind of hesitant to actually like tell them about it. But yeah, I was just like, just dive in, fuck it. And they found out by themselves. I think it's seen it on Instagram. As soon as we made the Instagram account, it pops up because it comes up with suggested people, doesn't it? So like, you can't get away with anything these days because the algorithm is just too good, and it'll recommend you regardless of how hidden you try to be. So they were just like, I didn't realise you started a podcast, blah blah blah, but they weren't too confrontational about it, and I think people have they know that I'm a bit like that anyway, so I don't really care anymore. Like, if this was maybe 5 years ago and I wasn't so I hadn't embraced who I was to that extent, and I'd kept myself closeted, there might have been a bit more overreactionary to it. But they were just like, oh yeah, you've got your own podcast and stuff like that. They might talk about it behind my back, I don't know. They might be like, oh, it's a bit weird for having that podcast. But at the same time, at that stage, it's happened and you can't change anything, so you might as well just go with it and embrace the fact that people are going to think you're weird, you know? It's not the end of the world.
You know,
you're not going to get your head chopped off.
No one makes a change by being like everyone else. Honestly, if everyone was the same, that would be extremely boring. I'm a fan of conspiracy theorists. Because I think that there is a lot of truth to things, and I think we're conditioned to say, oh no, that's not true, because obviously global government doesn't want us to know certain things. You know, they finally admitted that aliens exist. You know what I mean? And they did. Yeah. Our generation, we're like, we don't care, we already knew, and we don't care. But it's the fact that it's just saying that aliens existed, you know, let's say you said that 10 years ago. I said it my whole life. I saw something, and so I was just like, yeah, I know they exist, because I know what I experienced. But yeah, it's that would be considered conspiracy theory. And, you know, people would oh no, that's not real, that's just conspiracies, yada, yada, yada. And then, guess what? A month and a half ago, they say aliens are real, the government's been hiding it. Yeah, so I'm just if I could just meet those people, if I could just run into them, the people that, you know, made fun of me for believing in aliens, I just would tell them, I was like, now what? It's just
yeah.
What? There's a lot of truth to conspiracy. There is a lot of truth to it. You know, and then also, you know, I love the whole idea that it's kind of y'all are talking about a cult and just a conspiracy just in general. I have seen some things. I've seen the last demonic thing that I saw was my senior year in high school. So not 15. So I don't know, maybe 7, 8 years ago. I don't know. But it was in this house, actually. In this house that I'm staying in. I'm staying in my mom's house for now until I graduate with my master's degree this December. Woo-hoo.
Come on.
Let's go. Yeah, I saw a figure that was a very ugly figure. I don't know. I have a couple of stories. In this room that I'm sitting in right now, actually, this is the room where I committed suicide and I met Jesus physically. In this room. This is also the room where I was literally lifted off of my bed by some type of demonic force. You know, and it's called sleep paralysis, but a lot of people who experience sleep paralysis, they tend to see certain demonic figures, and it's just they're not making this up when people who live across the country or across the world are seeing the same figure. You know what I mean? I was literally lifted off the top of my bed, I was fucking levitated. And so I just started saying the name Jesus in my head, and it just felt like I was slowly being lifted down, and it's just I was able to finally say the name Jesus out loud, and that's when I felt things just get clear, you know? But I know what the fuck I experienced. That shit's crazy, and it's just have you ever experienced a Ouija board?
No, but my family have in this house. Well, not my family. My brother and his friends did a Ouija board in this house.
Oh shit! See, did they experience things after?
Not really, but
Okay.
I'm pretty convinced that our house is haunted anyway, regardless. I mean, I can tell you about the first time we moved in. So a week after we moved in, so my brother's room had a full stained glass window. It was like a double glazing, like a double door, like the opening door.
Yes, yeah.
They're like the glass doors. And about a week after moving in, that door just smashed on its own for no reason. And we were like, that's really weird. And yeah, there's definitely been times where I've felt like something's in the room with me.
Yeah.
So, and like when I'm home alone and stuff, I can hear noises. But just to touch on, and yeah, I've had sleep paralysis a few times actually, thinking about it. But yeah, I think one of the major things that I have learned from doing the podcast is when you first start, you just think, oh, it's just part of the universe and whatnot. I think more and more I am coming to terms with the fact that a lot of it is just like the dichotomy of good versus evil.
Yeah,
in the sense of scriptures. So I think a lot of it is just like demonic entities and things like that. And everything is based on demons and like channeling demons and being demonic. And I think this is just a counterplay between Jesus and Satan. I just don't know if I'm fully convinced yet. Do you know what I mean? I'm like 90% of the way there at the minute. I can see that a lot of it is satanic. I mean, even if you look into, not to make this about a conspiracy podcast, but just to keep the conversation.
I love it. It's vulnerability time.
Yeah,
we love it.
But just to talk about like certain artists, like musical artists, like say Doja Cat. Now a lot of people will be like, all the stuff she's doing now is it's just for publicity. Like she's being controversial for publicity. You know the whole. Have you seen all the music videos recently where she's like dressing up as the devil and as a demon and things like that? And
I haven't, but it doesn't.
Have you not?
Me. No.
Yeah. Okay. So she's releasing an album as well called Scarlet. So you'd probably be familiar with this, but it's Scarlet Woman of Revelation. I think that's where she's got so it's the Whore of Babylon.
Oh.
So that's what she's referencing with that. So she's essentially, but it's the same if you look at Sam Smith and Lil Nas X. Like you can argue that they're great artists, but at the same time they're still pushing this agenda where you have all this like Satanism and satanic symbolism and things like that pushed in your face. So if you look deeper into it, usually there is something behind it. It comes down to a lot of things like mind control and programming.
Yeah, that's actually really true. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think 100% the Bible is true, even if it's in an allegorical sense. But I think we are witnessing quite a lot of stuff from Revelations at the minute coming into fruition. I don't know. I don't know if that's all gone. Yeah, completely fair. But I still think, neither do I at the minute.
But it's still...
my grandparents.
Yeah, like you said, I do know for a fact that there is a lot of things Revelation happening. I do see it.
Yeah.
This is the thing about sacred text. From what I experienced, it seems like there's a lot of truth in sacred texts in general. I'm not saying every single thing is true, because I did some research on the Bible, and there's been some manipulation, there's been something. Anyways, long story short is, I think just sacred spiritual texts in general, doesn't matter if it's like Bible or nothing like that. I just think they're all worth, reading and looking into, because, like something that you kind of mentioned, the Jesus and Satan, the thing is like, it's the law of polarity. God, when he made the universe, and the universe is important as well, but he assigned the law of polarity, which basically means if there is good, there is going to be evil as well. There's going to be a force, and just as bad as something can get, you can experience that to that extent of goodness as well. So if you experience some like really, really, really bad shit, that means that you have the potential to experience really, really, really good shit. And if you just experience bad shit, you can have the potential to experience good shit. So it's just like, however low, also gives you the opportunity to have however that amount of high. So kind of like people say, as above, so below. You know what that means?
Yeah.
As above. So it's like the law of polarity, kind of like yin and yang. You know, it's just like there is good, there's also going to be evil. Just how great and how good love is, that is how the extent of how hate can be. So it's like if you really hate someone, you can actually, in the future, really, really love them. You know, it's just like you have that ability, you know? We have that ability.
And that's a lot to do with energy as well. So
yeah, exactly.
If you're projecting a lot of hate to people, if you're like, oh, I hate this person, I hate this person, I hate this person, that's negative energy that's going to loop back to you as well and impact your mental state and therefore your quality of life. Yeah. But if you love people instead, that's a different energy and it's a different wavelength, which I think has been proven. Love and hate give off two forms of energy, two different frequencies. And the more you love, the more you're going to get in return. Mm-hmm. So if you just, I mean, this is more a message for myself. I don't hate people.
Attraction's real.
Yeah, I find myself sometimes just like hating things for no reason, or I hate not hate myself, but I hate how I do things. And I think that's something that you need to control. Really, you need to think to yourself: if I love myself regardless, or I love someone else regardless, despite how they've treated me, then you're gonna have a better experience yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
One of my favourite things to do as well, because I feel like it gives me a lot of joy, is to be quite selfless. I know it is spoke about in the Bible and things like that. So if I see a homeless person, I think the nicest act you can do is just give them some money, because it usually makes the day. If you see someone desperate, struggling, if you give them £5, you're making their day at the same time you're getting a return of energy because you're being selfless as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's beautiful.
I think, yeah.
I would love to, after this, I gotta share a couple things with you after this.
Okay, that's fine.
I really would love to know, like, your thoughts and opinions on something. So I'm really curious, because I would love to hear your perspective on something. But I'll tell you that, like, after the podcast. Yeah, okay, so folks, your podcast info will be in the episode description below. Is that okay?
Of course it is, yeah.
Okay, so yeah.
We're almost at 100 subscribers.
Yeah. Oh, woo. Yeah, okay, cool, great, awesome, we love that. This is also being video recorded, so this is also going to be on YouTube. Finally, I figured out how to video record podcasts. Fun fact. It's going to be, and of course, it's going to be on every podcast platform. So I'm excited because, you know, we love to support on this podcast. That's one of the things that I love about this podcast. I'm just like, support. I want to support. You know, this is a really huge platform. Thankfully, thanks to my higher power, you know, this platform became really huge with just its first season. So I was like, I just don't believe that blessing is just for me. I think it's more so for others. And I've always wanted to have certain resources so that I can help people. You know what I mean? Like celebrities, they don't need me to repost their work, their art. You know what I mean? They already have the support. But we have our friend who isn't a celebrity, and it's just like we don't post their art or their work. You know, we're posting these celebrities' work that don't even need, you know, any advertisement or nothing like that. So I want to look at the little guy and help them get off their feet. You know, I've come to terms that people aren't going to do that for me. I don't think I've ever experienced people doing that for me ever in my life. I come to terms with that, honestly. I just, oh the fuck well, at this point. I'm like, I still want to, you know, just help others win and help others succeed. Because it just seems like, I mean, I've done so much on my own in my life, even when I didn't want to. Like, 99% of the stuff in my life I had to do on my own, unfortunately and fortunately. So it's kind of like, I am not a stranger to being a boss bitch on my own, you know? I definitely would love to, you know, have another boss bitch standing by my side, but oh well, that's not the case. So your episode description, I mean, your everything that you're gonna send me on Instagram, because I'm gonna tell you, I'm like, Rowan, send me whatever you want me to let the people know, and then I will put it on the episode description below so that you can get the support. And the podcast is gonna be out there forever, so even in 10 years from now, people are gonna be checking out your podcast. Yeah, I would love to be on there to talk about my experiences with some demonic things. Ooh, it's some crazy stuff. But I just think that's a different story. But okay, so you mentioned earlier, and I love that you made that little like segue, but of course I got off topic, because that's what I do. You said like that experience with your friends, you know, because they know you're like a conspiracy person, you know. This is the thing, I don't necessarily think you're a conspiracy person. I think you are an individual who has the courage enough to think outside the box.
Yes.
That's what I think you are. I think that's what you are. You are not afraid to ask questions. You're not afraid to seek the truth. You're not, you know what I mean? But there are powerful figures and powerful entities that just want us to stay in a box, in a limit, and they want us to make fun of people who are outside that box. But you see, it's those that are outside the box, those that are thinking outside the box, those are the ones that grow the most, those are the ones that make the most impact. So I don't think that you're just a conspiracy theorist. I think that you're so much more as well as a conspiracy theorist. But you had mentioned, you know, that whole segue of, you know, I care what people think. Go ahead and elaborate on that for us, Rowan, my dude.
So for me personally, I think, yeah, being so different, I wouldn't say I'm massively different, but I do think a lot differently to most of my friends, and I have specific ways of doing things. Now, I'm not sure why that is. It's just something I've always been like, and I think that's just part of who I am.
Individuality, love that.
Yeah, 100%. And this isn't to smite anyone else. I think a lot of people who aren't free thinkers and open to the idea that things might be different to the way they've been taught usually just get too comfortable in modern society, and obviously it's quite easy nowadays to just get an office job and do a 9 to 5 and just get money and then just get by. You know, I kind of live quite differently, and I think at some point you just need to embrace that's who you are and that's how you want to live. Otherwise you'll just be stuck, and you'll be essentially a slave to everyone else and everyone else's thoughts about you. So you can either step outside the box and be your own person and live free and don't listen to the demands of anyone else and don't listen to their opinions, or you can be stuck and you can be almost nullified in your behaviour, and you can be ruined. You can let it ruin you if you just consider people's thoughts about you too much. And it's not a way to live. You're basically being stolen of life and vigour because you're just constantly worried about, what will someone think if I do this? I mean, that's part of the reason I became an actor, is because, say, having confidence issues when you're about 13, 14, a good way to fix that is to go into acting, because you're essentially putting yourself on stage in front of more than one person and you're just free to be judged, you know? So you don't really have a choice whether you can act a certain way. I mean, you can make the argument that you're stepping into someone else's shoes by acting, but at the same time, you're still putting yourself in front of hundreds of people, and you're at the the whims of their opinions. I mean, I literally just did the Edinburgh Fringe, which is a show in Scotland, where they have thousands of shows on at once, and you get reviewed. You do a show, you get reviewed, and we had some good reviews and we had some bad reviews. And I think you've got to take each one with a pinch of salt, because at the end of the day, it's just people's opinions. It doesn't actually have any ramifications on who you are and who you could be, your potential. Mm-hmm. I think there's actually a lot of value in people's opinions of you sometimes as well. I think it's easy to dismiss them, but if people do have genuine criticisms of you that you can actually evaluate, so if someone said something like, oh, he's really lazy, or he's really boring of a person, what you can do is you can assess yourself. You can think, am I actually boring? Am I actually lazy? And if those are things that are actually true about you and they do carry some weight, then perhaps it's an opportunity to look at yourself and think, okay, maybe I can change this, maybe I can change that. But the idea is not to get weighed down by people. I mean, when I was in Scotland, we had a couple of terrible reviews, like a 2-star review, and I remember before I went onto stage, I was told that we got a 2-star review, and that kind of upset me, because I was just thinking about the 2-star review before I went onto the stage, and it kind of deflates you. It kind of makes you not want to perform as well. Mm-hmm. But I think at some point you just have to be like, yeah, look, someone's left a 2-star review, maybe it wasn't the best day for me, maybe he's just got a terrible opinion and he doesn't have a great sense of understanding the show, and you just get on with it at the end of the day. You know, you can only do your best. You can only do your best. As long as you know you're doing your best, you're living true to your morals and your values, then that's all you can do, I guess.
Yeah. Ooh, that's, you know what that made me think of? Because at least I know for me, like I would always, like, I don't want to say beat myself up, but I would just hate the fact that I care what people think. You know, and then literally a couple days ago, you know, I mean, I was just like, you know what? I may not care about what people think now as much. I still do care what they think, it's just not as much now. But I thought about it a couple days ago and I was like, you know what, I feel like I'll always care what people think. But that's the thing, like, I think there can also be some good things to that I'm seeing for myself. And I'm like, you know, I do care what people think. But a lot of us that care what people think, we also care how people feel. And there are some, you know, people that are gonna need someone to care how they are feeling. I think that I think people who care what people think, I think we're more able to feel things, and there could be a human being who needs us to feel with them, to feel for them, to show them, you know what, you matter so much that I am hurting with you, or I value what you're saying. You know, I'm not just dismissing you. And then there's also that aspect where it's just like, oh, I care what this person thinks, and they're completely just trashing me, and they don't care about my well-being, they don't care about my growth, and they're just talking about me and, you know, being haters, and I feel down about that. You know, and then there's also those people who, you know, who don't trash you, who say the greatest things about you, who support you. And I'm glad that I care about what those people think, you know. And so it's like, for me, I started looking into that law of polarity, and I'm just like, that makes me feel a lot better. I'm just like, I lessen the impact. And I had to learn to do this. I lessen the impact of people who don't have my best intentions. I lessen the impact of their words. Obviously, their words are going to hurt, and what they think, it is going to hurt to some extent, depending on what they think. There we go. And I more so expanded my care on the people who do have the best intentions for me of what they think. You know what I mean? I'm more so, for example, I am making sure I intentionally, care when someone says a compliment. That's something that they think, and I'm going to care about that. I'm going to make sure I care about that, and then someone who doesn't say, a compliment or says something bad, it's just like, I may or may not care in the moment. Honestly, I don't fucking know. It depends on what they are thinking. Because there are some thoughts that people can think that can just trigger some shit. Like, so, and I'm just like, either I care, I'll just care a little bit, or I just don't care. Fuck you. Because for me, honestly, I know what people say, oh, I don't care what people say. And I'm like, listen, if someone is, let's say if someone's thinking or saying, hey, guess what? I hope you die in a car accident. That's going to trigger some shit. That's not okay. I'm just like, okay, I'm clearly going to care to some extent. And my care might look like anger, frustration, sadness. But I'm going to have that care. But I just think for me, I'm just learning, at least right now in my life, because I truly wish I could just not care what people think. I truly wish. I know some people are like that, and literally great for them. I just don't think I can ever be that person, unfortunately. And now I'm starting to think, maybe there's pros and cons to it, because there are some people that have, opinions, or that they think that something's going on and they need someone to validate them. You're like, I care what you have to say. I care. Because what if that person's never had anyone give them the time of the day to even care about what they think, care about what they even say. That's just what I'm experiencing right now, these past couple days. Because I was like, because I almost quit the podcast.
Oh shit, really?
I did.
On the way?
Well, I got caught up on numbers, but then it turned out it wasn't, my numbers actually were doing a lot better than I thought. Long story short, my analytics didn't take in everything, because what I did was I branched out on the amount of platforms that the podcast goes to, and so it's like Spotify and Anchor, and Apple, I can see Spotify and Anchor's analytics 100%. Apple's analytics, I can see some of it. And analytics basically means the number, but Amazon Prime, podcast.net, Google Podcast, I can't see those numbers. And so the more platforms that I had, the more people were like, oh, okay, instead of Spotify, I prefer Google Podcast, so I'm going to go listen on Google. And I just signed a contract with Amazon Prime, Amazon Podcast. So a lot of people are like, oh, I don't like Apple Podcasts that much, but I can listen to this podcast somewhere else. Cool. So that number leaves the analytics and it goes to another platform. And so I got discouraged, and I started to forget the reason why I started the podcast to fucking begin with, was just to heal people, just to save somebody's life, and to all of us humans, just to grow and learn together. But I almost quit, and I was just like, you know what? Those numbers, there are people that the numbers that I do see, and I'm just like, okay, there's numbers that I do see, and I was just like, who knows how much a special guest has impacted that person. So, and then after I finally was like, okay, I'm not going to get caught up on the numbers anymore. That just doesn't define me. That's when I found out, oh, guess what? The analytics, you're just not getting all of them right now. you're not getting all of the numbers and the analytics right now because it takes time to get numbers from another podcast platform. So I was like, oh, okay, cool, interesting, wow, okay.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree with you. I mean, this is kind of a relevant topic because I don't do YouTube anymore. I mean, I don't do it as much. But when I was doing it, I had a similar thing where I was like, well, people aren't watching my videos that much. I mean, they still get views now. People go back and watch them. I've noticed videos that I uploaded almost 2 years ago now are still getting views and still getting more likes. But I think the best thing to think about is that even if you're impacting one person, if you're helping one person, then you're doing enough. And yeah, even if you're not doing any numbers, if no one's watching, at the same time, it's just a nice outlet to just speak into the void.
Yeah.
You know, just voice your thoughts and just speak about stuff. Because it's fun at the end of the day, and anyone can do it. And you never know when one video might just pop off. There's people that talk about how they started a podcast and they didn't have... Is it Chris Williamson, the podcaster? He's got one of the biggest podcasts in the world, and I was listening to one of his podcasts, and he was talking about how he had maybe 100 subscribers for about 3 years, and then all of a sudden one of his videos just popped off, and he went from 100 subscribers to like 10,000 in the space of a month. And then his podcast has just taken off from then, and he's managed to get bigger guests, he's managed to get more audiences, so he's getting hundreds of thousands of views every single podcast episode, and listeners and things like that. So yeah, you never know when the iron's going to strike and you're just going to make a massive impact. You know, it could be an old podcast episode that you loaded that you didn't think would make that much of an impact because of how the algorithm works. And one person finding a video and then saying, oh, watch this video, and then that'll get recommended more on the algorithm and things like that. Yeah, it's extremely interesting. Yeah. And to go back to your point about worrying about other people and how they view you, I think you've got to take it with a pinch of salt always, because if someone's talking about you in such a detrimental way, in such a negative way, then you've got to assume that to some extent they've got nothing better to do, and it's kind of a representation of who they are as a person. Yeah. And it's like, do you really want validation from that person anyway? Because 99% of the time people just hate us just for the sake of it, and you don't actually want their validation because it's something you're going to be seeking to fulfill forever, because it's going to be impossible to fulfill. Some people just get a kick out of hating you. That's why you see so many trolls online and things like that. They're just putting negative things in the comments, you know. I mean, when I used to do YouTube videos, I'd see comments like when I'd do an impression video and someone would comment saying, oh, you completely missed this, that this person does this in their videos and things like that, and you didn't get that right, so it wasn't a great impression actually. And that's something to fixate on more than the rest of the positive messages that you get. It's just like your brain is drawn to those sorts of negative energies. I don't know why. Maybe because they carry more energy, more weight, and it's sort of like hitting you in your soul and hits your pride, doesn't it? I guess. But as well, I think the people who give you criticism, I think you need to be able to distinguish between criticism and hate, because I think those are two different things. If someone's saying, as I said earlier, like, oh, you're lazy, or you need to work on your pronunciation when you're doing your podcast, or you need to stick to a topic more when you're doing your podcast, or you need, you know, just things like this. I think those, as I said earlier, you can almost look at them messages and think, yeah, is that something I can take value from, or is it not? You know, is that something I need to work on? Also, as well, there's like a saying where if something isn't going to matter in 5 years, there's no point spending more than 5 minutes thinking about it, which I think is a good rule for life.
You want to know something also?
Yeah.
Something that helped me, you know, like discern of if an individual is hating or trying to just, you know, better me, is when they consistently don't point out any good. Like, It's just like, and it's like, once I finally do that action, they're silent. I was just like, oh, I did this action that you're saying I need to do, and it's just like, there's no applause, there's no congratulations. They're just looking for the next thing to critique me on in order to bring me down. And I'm just like, that's a telltale sign, because I feel like, for me at least, there's a lot of people I'm just very, weary of when it comes to that, because I gotta protect myself. Because I'm just like, not everyone is having the best interest. And then some people do, and then some people don't. So I'm just like, I gotta discern the best that I can. Like you said, kind of like gotta differentiate it. Because there are some people that could say the correct criticism, but mean the worst for you. And then people say the correct criticism, but they actually mean to support you. And so I'm just like, something that I did a couple times. I was like, okay, thanks for the criticism. This is when, like, I don't know the person. I also read their tone, their body language. That's, for me, a telltale sign. I'm like, okay, I don't know if I should, allow this person's words to hurt me, to harm me, because criticism is going to hurt. But harm is intentional. So, and then I remember I told them, I was like, okay, now say something good. So you said three things bad. You have nothing good to say. Go ahead and say say 2, 3 areas that I'm good at. Then I was just like, if we're gonna let's acknowledge the full truth. Because I'm not gonna just be beat and bashed down, and I'm just like, wait. There's areas of growth and there's areas of greatness. So I was just like, mention all of it. I feel like in order to truly grow, we have to acknowledge the full picture. And I just feel like a lot of people get, sucked in on, and I used to be this person, but not that much. But a long time ago, I was this person. So I'm throwing myself under the Hummer limousine as well. But it's just like, you just always looking for the next bad thing in someone, and don't even point out they're good. Or when they're doing something good, you're silent when they're doing something great, but you have all the mouth in the world when they're struggling, or when it's something that you don't agree with, something you don't like. Now, I'm throwing my mom under the bus. 1,000%. That is so her. She's just so negative, and she judges herself, and it projects onto me. And I just started having to set boundaries. I was like, no, I'm not just a flaw. I'm not a flaw at all. I was like, I'm a human being. I have my good things and I have my bad things. And notice that, like, just because someone disagrees with something, they label it bad. Like, oh, it's bad because you don't agree with it. That also makes me think, a point that you had mentioned way earlier, I just wanted to say this because I'm going to forget, is I've learned that just because I don't believe in something doesn't mean it's not true. And I think, like, obviously, for example, like, I hate the word religion. Religion, the rules, not relationship with your higher power. That's different. Yeah. Religion is the rules, and a lot of people just get caught up in that and just like, guess what? Relationship is the most important part. Because religion is just these rules that a lot of men have just thrown at us. Fun fact, just look at the history of the Bible and where the first Bible until now. Yeah, I'm pissed at human beings, and that's what I'll say there. And I was like, wow, fuck all of y'all for, tampering with something that's supposed to be so beautiful and just turning it for your own good. But let me not get it. But the point is, it's just like, I'm going to use religion as an example. People are taught, oh, this is real, this is real, this is how it is. And we can believe that. That doesn't mean that it's true. That just doesn't mean that it's true. Like, for example, like, when I can't stand God lately in my life. I hate God lately. I'm a lot better now that I've watched those near-death experience videos, and it just reminded me of my experience, and I was like, okay, things are okay. Things are more than okay. That's what I'm going to talk to you about after. I want to send you those videos. But anyways,
yeah, okay.
You know, the Jesus that I met was not the Jesus that was talked about in church. He's not this hateful being. He's a human being, and it's just like, he doesn't hate, like, he doesn't see anything wrong with you. But I was never taught that. So I'm just like, just because I believe something doesn't mean, just because I don't believe something doesn't mean it's not true. And so that's what that taught me. And I was just like, I'm looking at the Bible, a lot of the corrupted Bible. I'm not going to go there, but the Old Testament was never a part of the Bible to begin with, fun fact. I'm not going to go there. But, not saying that there's not truth in it. I'm just saying, like, it was never supposed to be a part of the Bible to begin with, fun fact. It's just, like, the whole idea of reincarnation. Just because you don't believe something doesn't mean it's not true.
Yeah.
And when I died, and when many other people who have also had similar experiences as me, we're saying the same thing. We're saying literally the same thing. And I'm just like, yeah, exactly. We've got it all wrong. We've got so much wrong on this earth. And I think that's strategic. I think that's evil's way of limiting us, of stealing knowledge from us. Because, we have, there's a lot of things about Buddhism that's real. There's a lot of things about Christianity that's real. There's a lot of things about, the Islamic faith that's real. It seems to be that there has been a lot of truth, but it's been spread out and put into different boxes in order to separate people. So that's what I'm saying. Sacred text in general, it's just nice to know. Just know. Because I'm going to say something really controversial, but this is what I've experienced, and seeing these near-death experience videos, what people, their experience as well, it gave me the confidence. Because these people, they don't know each other. And there's tons of videos on it. And they're like, this is the truth. This is what's happening after. It seems like we got to choose to be here because we want to learn. Earth is the quickest way to learn. You can't learn that much in perfection. You're not going to hell. Hell doesn't exist anymore for humans. And we aren't even human beings originally. We are spiritual beings. We came from somewhere. We came from heaven, and we like to learn. So one of the many places that we can go to learn to just advance our spiritual development, because it's hard to advance when you're in perfection, because you're not learning anything because everything's perfect, and just so Earth is one of the quickest ways to learn, because it's shit here, but not every place that we can go is like this. Apparently Earth is the hardest. So everyone, and this is the thing, people don't have to believe it on here, which I don't blame them, because evil literally just wants to make our lives even worse. Because, Lucifer, he's not able to go back to heaven, sort of say. He's not able to. He's jealous of us because we get to go back, and he can't. So while we're on this earth learning, he is making it even more hard. He's making it harder for us than it already needed to be anyways. So it's just really interesting, and a lot of people will reject this. Why? Because obviously it's challenging something that they've been taught their whole life. So there's that insecurity that comes in, and that's normal. When our biases or when our beliefs are challenged, we become to project our insecurities and just deny. I remember this pastor, he saw his dad when he was dying. He saw his dad, up in heaven when he was dying. And a lot of people, a lot of my family members, when they're on their deathbed, they look up and they can see someone they know. And he said, my dad is there. I've got it wrong this whole time. Because how he was taught how people go to heaven was completely wrong. We come from heaven. And so it's just like, we chose a lot of things. Like, we come from heaven. We come from heaven. Human beings, we don't go to hell. That's just not how that works. That's not how that works. That's literally not how that works anymore. I've met many atheists who have died and went to heaven.
Yeah.
And they were able to come back, just like I was able to come back. And a lot of people don't know, I was atheist. I was a hardcore atheist. I was almost a Satanist, in fact. But I was a hardcore atheist. I died. I got to meet Jesus. I got to experience heaven. Humans do not go to heaven. I don't know how that works if you sell your soul to the devil. I don't know how that part works. But I do know it's just like, you don't necessarily have to like, only people who believe in Jesus go to heaven. That's not, and if people look at the first Bible, people would see this is correct. Like, that's not how that works. What we're here to do, we're here to learn, we're here to grow.
Yep.
We want to experience certain things that only human nature can experience. I'm sorry for rambling right there, but I'm sorry, this is your episode. Let me let you continue. Oh my god.
No.
I just did that. You should have stopped me. I'm so sorry.
No, I absolutely love it. You went on a really interesting thread there, I think. Yeah. I mean, I think the idea of Jesus dying on the cross is basically representation enough that we don't... Not that you don't have to worry about how you behave, because obviously you don't want to be just an absolute lunatic and just go around...
Right, exactly.
But was it you that posted that today? No, I don't think it was. It was someone else I saw posted today. It was like, how about Moses was a murderer, Yeah.
He was a murderer.
He committed adultery with his wife.
Yeah.
And it was like Jesus used them as the figureheads for his religion.
Exactly.
And he died on the cross for our sins. The whole idea was that he exalted everyone of sin. Once he died on the cross, he took everyone's sins for all time.
Everyone.
And was
he
like,
defeated death.
And it was like, as long as you believe in me and you have faith in me and you trust in me and you have a relationship with me, then you are free. It doesn't matter how much you sin, I'll still always be there for you.
Right. Because there's certain benefits from, having like a higher power, in Jesus. There are definitely certain benefits. Because the thing is, like, he defeated death. And what death was, it is us spiritual beings not being able to go back home. But he stopped that. He's like, y'all are coming back. I'm getting y'all back. And I know that he, like, and that's the thing, there's obviously a lot of benefits with having a higher power in him. I'm sorry, I forgot what I was saying.
Could I just say something? Could I just butt in here?
Oh, yeah, that's what it was.
Okay, I'll go on.
I like to do, when I do my research, just in general, I'm not afraid to question things. Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That's what really inspires me about you, Rowan. And that's what I was also gonna wait to tell you after this episode, but I was like, let me just tell you on here. When I was mentioning you don't seem like you are afraid to question and that you're afraid to think against the norms, you know what I mean? That is huge, Rowan. You are the one that grows the most. People can't grow when they're in a box.
Yeah.
You can't grow. You have to open that box. And that's when, like, the plant can sprout up. And that's when you can also receive a lot of important ingredients to grow. Like if you put a plant in a box with soil, and I mean, soil is nutrients, but you gotta open that box up, pour some water in it, give that plant sunlight, and it will grow. And eventually, not only will it grow out of the box, it will like outgrow the box just in general. You're that type of being. You know what I mean? You're the type of person that I think what true leadership is, you know what I mean? You're not afraid to not be perfect. You know, and when we chose to come to this earth, we knew it wasn't going to be perfect. We knew it was going to be a shit storm. We knew it was going to be a shit show. But you're not afraid to learn. You're not afraid to learn. I just want to congratulate you on that. I wish that there were more people like you, and I'm not bashing people who aren't like that, because we're conditioned by a lot of evil to be limited. That's just really what it is. Like, we're conditioned by a lot of evil, and evil can present itself from human actions. I've done a lot of evil, you know, we're humans, you know, so it's just like, we've been conditioned to be in a box, be limited, be labeled. You can't move from this box, and if you do, you're weird. But it's the weird people who grow. It's the weird people who win the most. And it's completely understandable if people are stuck in the box or are afraid of the box. They're not any less or any more. I'm just letting you know that things are gonna be different for you because you are outside of the box. That is inspiring, Rowan.
And that means so much to me, honestly. No, it's great to hear, man. It's great to hear. Yeah, I think it's all about comfort, isn't it, really? You can't grow and you can't become a different person without being able to put yourself through discomfort in how you think and challenge your own beliefs. And you're just not going to get anywhere, because if you're stuck in your own beliefs and you think that you're right, that's essentially pride. And
ooh.
Yeah.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
And then you just get stuck in your own ways, and it kind of leads to hate in a way, because you're not open to other people's ideas, and you can't see where they're coming from. You don't have any other perspectives, and that leads to hate, because you think you don't understand it, and obviously that leads to fear. Sounds like I'm Yoda right now.
You said it sounds like what?
Sounds like I'm Yoda.
Who?
Yoda, Master Yoda.
Oh,
Star Wars.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, go Yoda.
Just because of the whole fear leading to hate, and hate leads to the dark side.
Yeah.
I think he was spitting when he said that. He was spitting facts.
Spitting. He does. DJ Yoda. What?
But yeah, just to come to you. I mean, I've changed my mind about things so many times. I genuinely think I made a decision to come here. I always thought that. I always have like this vague memory of choosing to come to Earth. Right. I don't know if you have that same as well. I think a few people have it. I don't know how true that memory is. I don't know if I've just implanted it in my mind. But
no,
yeah, I've changed my mind about things so many times, and I think you have to learn to be malleable, and you have to. Eventually, you will come to the right conclusion, but it's just about learning and growing and getting yourself into a place where you think you're comfortable and you're happy. To go back to your point about people hating as well, I know this is quite a jump back, but when you were saying about people like going for negativity, I think it's quite addictive to be negative towards people, but at the same time, it makes you feel awful. You feel terrible after you've done it, but that's sort of an addictive feeling. It's almost like, you know, when people get hooked on like murder shows and murder documentaries and things like that. I mean, to put my mum under the bus as well, she loves murder documentaries, but I think they like trigger something in your brain, like some form of dopamine, and it becomes addictive, but you feel awful. It makes you feel terrible, but you sort of get addicted to it. And at the same time, if you're positive with people, if you just give a random person a compliment, if you see a stranger and you say, "Hi, your hair looks great today," or "You've got a great smile," you feel great about it, you know? So it's as addictive. It kind of feels weird to do, to just walk up to someone and be like, oh, blah, 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 you look great today, whatever.
Yeah.
But it feels great, like you get a great return of energy and you actually feel better because of it, you know?
You do. And like you were saying, like, hating on someone, it like, okay, it also reminds me of, like, you know, porn addiction. Like, it feels good in the moment, but then it's like, honestly, ultimately, it's not gonna feel good anymore. And that's the thing, like, with hating on someone, it's like the effects of hating slowly creeps up on you. Before you know it, you're miserable and you're hating yourself.
Facts. That's ultimately what it comes down to, and it's people who don't like themselves that start hating.
Yeah.
Which is sad. Also, as well, yeah, I think God is a great basis for not caring about things, because I think if you have, even if it's Christian God, if it's Yahweh, if it's Allah,
right,
if it's any form of God, any form of higher power that you can sacrifice yourself to, then you know that everything is going to be all right anyway.
Yes, because
God has a plan for you. So even if this happens to you and these people start hating on you, Jesus had haters. Everyone hated Jesus. They killed Jesus.
Yeah.
I think that's he is the ultimate martyr for not caring about what people think.
Yeah.
Because he was murdered by his own people. And
you know, that's the funny thing as well, honestly, like, folks, when it's our time to die, we're all gonna see, oh wow, I chose to come here. And like, we're going to remember our past lives, we're gonna remember a lot of things, because obviously, like, we were sent here and we obviously we're supposed to forget. But it's just like, y'all will all see, yeah, we had it wrong on Earth. And it's beautiful, because it's like, yeah, Jesus is real. He did die on that cross. He did rise up. But when he said, it is finished, death is no more, he meant it literally for everyone. And it's just like, there's this guy. I'm going to put I'm going to put the link to the first Bible. So folks want to check that out. I'm going to put that in the episode description. I'm going to put a couple of near-death experience videos in the description. And these are people's experience, story, and testimony. And you're going to see that they all are extremely similar, and these people don't even know each other. One of them already died, by the way. Fun fact, they're not on this earth anymore. But I'm going to do that. And then, folks, also remember that your podcast host near-death experience that relates to a lot of what they're saying. But Rowan, it's just there's some things that you have said. When we last talked, I think it was on WhatsApp or FaceTime, and that you're saying now, and I'm just like, it's just blinging in my head. I'm just like, oh, Rowan would love this.
Yeah. Well, the videos and stuff. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I'm gonna totally send it to you. But
I will watch them, I promise. Is there any chance, sorry, I don't want to be rude and
I don't care, you're fine.
We can round up this podcast just because...
you gotta go. This podcast was supposed to be 45 minutes anyway.
I know.
I'm sorry. That's my fault.
It's been such an easy conversation. It could have gone on for 3 hours. I'd have happily done that. It's just because it's my grandma's birthday
You
today.
go celebrate with grandma.
Which she's passed away, but my family are celebrating